Okay, so like if you're just joining me, go watch part 1 of this video, otherwise none of this is going to make any sense to you. So, and just to catch you up, picture it, Greenfield, Indiana, 2005. So, met up with this dude, with my friend Carrie, and like, you know, he looks like the hills have eyes in the face. He's got like a foot thing where he swings out his foot when he walks. He's like a little person, but like 5'2", and bad skin, weird eyes, all that. A weird arm, like the dude from Scary Movie, the butler. And yeah, that's about it. Like in the where we left off in the last video, we were getting ready to go into a gas station because we didn't know what to do, and we weren't going to be rude and just like tell him to go away like we should have. So we go up to the gas station, and Carrie says that she needs to go in and tells me to come with her and tells him that we'll be right back. And he didn't say anything. He didn't even say okay or anything. As soon as we opened up the door to get out, he opens up his door and gets out too. And we were like looking like, what the fuck? We just told you to stay here. So we go into the gas station, and he's following us still into the gas station. And Carrie goes to the women's bathroom, and he is like standing outside the door. And I walk in first, and he's just like standing there outside the door. And Carrie was like, "You can't come in here. This is the women's bathroom." So then, dude, like, I don't know, he was still standing there when she shut the door. And so I'm like, oh my God, you know, like I'm starting to like freak out and like yell. And so Carrie was like, shh, hold on. And, you know, she locks the door, and we wait a few seconds in case he was standing outside the door. And then we both just freak out. Like, you know, I'm like, oh my God. She's like, oh my God, what the fuck? How is this even happening? And, you know, this is crazy. This is nuts. This is like a whole nightmare. And especially me, like I'm yelling, being really loud. There's no way that dude did not hear something. So Carrie was like, you know, he just drove 3 hours, so we're gonna have to hang out with him a little bit. And I was like, you know, I know, I don't want to be rude, I don't want to like be mean to this guy, you know, especially if he's crazy. So Carrie comes up with the plan that she's gonna have one of her friends call in an hour because she has to run out to her hometown. I used to live there too. In Carthage, which is about 20-25 minutes away from Greenfield. So by the time we go there and get back, that'd be about exactly an hour. So she calls her friend and tells him to call us in exactly an hour. Set an alarm. Make sure you call in an hour. And we were going to pretend like there's an emergency. And I said, well, what if you ask about the emergency, or about what the emergency is? And Carrie said, well, Kayla's pregnant. That's her sister and my bestie. So she was like, well, just tell her that she's going into labor and we have to go to the hospital, and he can't go to the hospital, obviously. And I was like, what if he follows us to the hospital? And Carrie was like, well, just pull into the parking lot. And, you know, he can't go in, so it was like a whole thing. So her friend agrees to call in an hour. And we go out and get back in the car, or her Blazer. And we go out to Carthage. And it was kind of like, you know, awkward kind of car ride, but wasn't terrible. And Carrie runs into her mom's house and grabs whatever it was that she needed to grab. It only took a few seconds. She was right back out. But then she like, oh, and also dude kept trying to like touch my shoulder and stuff from the back seat. And Carrie was like, "Don't be touching my woman." I was like, "Oh my God, it's awesome, thank you." But then Carrie goes into the little store that was there in town because she needed to get cigarettes or something, I don't remember. So she's just gonna run in really quick. So we wait out there for her in her blazer. And I'm sitting up front, and dude starts like hardcore trying to like touch my shoulders and shit. And so, I'm like, I told you I don't really like to be touched, blah, blah, blah. And then he like grabs my hand and is like caressing it and shit. And that's when I notice that the strong arm, like the one that was like smaller than the other one, it looked like if you took like a wax hand and melted a bunch of other wax hands together and like just stuck little pieces of finger all around the hand, and you put like all these little nubs on the hand and they were just like sprouted up everywhere. That's what his fucking hand looks like. And there's dry skin on these little finger nubs. So I'm freaking out because that's scary. And I'm trying not to be mean. And I'm trying, like, I had to put my hand over my mouth like this, trying not to scream because I was so freaked out about it. So I'm like, like that. And he was like, "Does it bother you?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, my mom drank a lot when she was pregnant with me, and I have some birth defects." So I was like, "Why didn't you just tell me that?" He was like, "Well, I wanted you to like me." It's like, that's not something you spring on a person. And so he's trying to like touch me like down, like, I don't know if he's like trying to touch my boob or what, but he was touching my shoulders. So I'm like backed up all the way like this to the window. And he's still like hardcore, like still getting to me and like going through the other side of the seat and like trying to touch me. So I like go down into like the dashboard, and I'm trying to like escape from this hand that I just can't believe that that's actually someone's hand. Like, that's really, really terrible. Like, that's pretty severe. And so I was like all like this, and he was still like touching me. And then thankfully Carrie comes back out and she's like, "Don't be touching my woman." And I was like, oh my God, I love you so much right now. Like, it was great. She was just like protecting me. So we decide to head back to Greenfield. And it's been an hour at this point, and her friend still hasn't called. So we're starting to get a little bit nervous. Like, what if he doesn't call? Oh my God, we're going to have to sneak away, make another plan. It's going to be bad. So we decide to go to the park and just wait and hope that her friend calls for a little while. And then if he doesn't, we'll just have to come up with another plan. So we were like sitting there at the park, and he's like, "Oh, why are we hanging out here? Like, what are we going to do?" And he was like, "I have some weed and coke in my car. We can go back and get that." And I was like, I'm not doing anything with this dude. I'm not taking anything. I'm not going to drink around him. Who knows? Like, if I'm just drinking a pop, he could put some kind of crazy drug or something in there. So, I'm like cuddled up to Carrie, holding on to her like she's my lesbian lover at this point. And I'm just like cuddling with her, and he keeps like trying to like come over and cuddle with me and be next to me, and Carrie kept telling me to go away. So finally, after like 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, I think it was closer to 2 hours, her friend finally calls. And, she goes over to like pretend like she's finding out about this emergency. So she's like asking all these questions and stuff. And she comes back and she's like, "Well, Kayla's in labor, so we gotta go." And Dude was like, I'll just wait in the hospital parking lot until she's done. And I was like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? Like, who would do that? And Carrie was like, no, you can't do that, or it could take days for her to have this baby. And so he gets, like, really mad. Like, he starts being like, oh, this is fucking bullshit, blah, blah, blah. I drove all the way down here. I don't even have enough gas to get home, blah, blah, blah. I thought I was going to be hanging out here for a while. And so my mom had given me $20 since I had used the excuse, or maybe it was my grandma that gave it to me, I don't know. But since I had used the excuse that we were going to the movies, she gave me money so I could do that, and I did chores for it. So I grabbed the money out of my pocket, like out of my jeans pocket, and I just like kind of throw it at him. I'm like, there's your gas money. We gotta go. And, he's still getting like all angry and shit. And he bitches about it the entire way from the park back to Walmart where his car was. And it was really fucking annoying. And we were like, that's our sister, dude. Because, like, Kayla and Carrie actually are sisters, and our parents dated, so I'm kind of like a sister. So she was like, this is way more important. I was like, dude, I gave you gas money, you're good. I don't understand why you're still, like, angry. We hung out with you, giving you the entire gas, like, all the gas money I have. And gas was like $2 a gallon then. So he made out on that deal. And so we go to, like, pull up in front of his car, and dude doesn't get out. He's still, like, sitting there like, I can just, like, wait up at the hospital and, this is bullshit. Didn't even get to hang out. Came down here for 2 hours, blah, blah, blah. And Carrie was like, dude, get out of my car. And I was thinking that we may have to call the fucking police or something because this dude is not getting out of the car. And then, like, he opens up the door and Carrie's like, come on, get out of my car. And he opens up the door. And then he kind of, like, stands there by the door and is, like, starting to complain again. I guess he thought that, because he was, like, here was the car door. He was standing, like, right here. He thought that Carrie wouldn't do anything. Well, he sadly underestimated her because she pulled out. And when she did, the car door shut. And he, like, was all angry. I seen him, like, throwing up his arms as we were driving away. And we both, like, took this big sigh of relief. Thankfully, this is over. Or so we thought. Because I looked back into the rearview mirror, and dude's back there. Like, he's following us. And I was like, oh my God, Carrie, he's following us. And she was like, maybe he's just going to go this way to go out to the interstate. Just hold on, let's see. Well, he didn't go toward the interstate, which was in the opposite direction. He followed us. So Carrie goes in the direction of the hospital, and she pulls into the hospital parking lot. Dude is still, like, hot on our tail. And Carrie, like, after she pulled in the parking lot, he's following us into the parking lot. She was like, fuck this. And without even stopping or pretending to go into the hospital, she just goes. Like, just drives her out of the hospital parking lot. And we go, down a bunch of little roads, hoping that we would lose him. And we still did not. He was still following us. So Carrie went out to 40, and he's still following us. So, being from that area, we knew most of the country roads. Like, Carrie started going down all these different country roads and going pretty fast. And he's still following us. Finally, after, I don't even know, but quite a while, I don't even know how, being from Chicago, he wasn't lost. But we finally lose him. And Carrie, like, goes the back ways into Knightstown, jumps on the interstate, heads up to Newcastle, and he's texting the phone, her phone. And, he's just complaining and blah, 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 and, like, harassing us. We're like, you're a fucking lying bitches, blah, blah, blah. You didn't go to the hospital. You just ditched me. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I gave you gas money, though. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, it sucks, but You made out. And then, like, later, when I went home, my grandma told me that there was like 3 or 4 missed calls for me from some dude. And she was like, that's not your boyfriend, right? And I was like, no. She was like, well, what is going on with that? And I was like, Grandma, I just cannot talk about it. I just can't. I don't want to talk about it. What does Mom know? And Grandma told me that she just suspected, but she didn't really know. And then after that, the next day, my mom made a few snide remarks about my boyfriend, but it wasn't as bad of a roasting as I thought. Like, I thought that she was gonna, hardcore, like, make fun of me. But thankfully she didn't. But this dude continued writing me on Yahoo Messenger, emailing me, calling me multiple times a day. And then finally, my grandma said, when he called, and she kept saying she's not here or whatever, and finally my grandma was sick of him calling, and she said, she's obviously not going to talk to you. She's obviously not interested. Stop calling this house, or I'm going to call the police and put a restraining order on you. And Grandma saved the day, because finally he stopped. And yeah, that is why always make sure that you get plenty of pictures and you know who you're talking to. That's advice from me. So hopefully the story was funny, entertaining, whatever, and y'all liked it. So if anyone has any crazy internet stories, let me know in the comments.